Side, an advocacy group that has been...
Good morning. My name is Damaris Reyes. I was born and raised on the Lower East Side. I live in public housing. I've dedicated my whole life to saving public housing. I want to first thank our Congresswoman, who has been a tireless advocate throughout the tenure of my career. Congresswoman Velázquez has been fighting to save public housing. I also want to thank the other elected officials and leaders and advocates for joining her in this fight. I just want to tell you some quick stuff. When public housing was first created in the 1930s, it was a bold, visionary strategy to help people find affordable housing and jobs in this city. As we fast forward all these years later, we must keep in mind that public housing is still a valuable asset to our community, and it's going to take bold strategies, bold initiatives to keep it funding, to keep it operational. So this is why we must all stand behind our elected officials. We must go out and do whatever it takes to ensure that our public housing, our affordable housing, not only here in New York, but throughout this country, is fully funded for the most vulnerable in our community. Again, it's going to take bold strategies, visionary leadership, and we must be there to support our elected officials in this fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Damaris. Thank you, Damaris. And now we're going to hear from Paul Abreu from Greece Houses. He's a resident.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. There's a big stigma attached to living and growing up in public housing. I moved into Rutgers as a teen, and due to a tragedy and a blessing, we were able to get housing at Greece Housing. I adopted 3 children, and I am adopting this fight to continue that. Because without that, I wouldn't have had the opportunity, or the children that I have to have the opportunity to just have a home. As a single father trying to give the best life to 3 kids that their mother had died. The conditions that we came into were horrendous, but the fear of being displaced and not having a home, I had to contend with that. I am not here as just a resident of Greece or a New Yorker. I'm here to advocate for everyone. Everyone should have a community to bond to. As everyone here, maybe you have children, maybe you have nephews and nieces, and they need to have a community to grow up in and really be proud of. I am proud to be a public housing member and tenant. And that's what brings me here. I'm not separating districts or political alliances. I don't use Twitter. I don't have an agenda. I just have a care for everyone as a human being, and especially our children. That microscopic dust is getting into their lungs, and we cannot take care of them. And it causes more cost for our health costs, more people going and not getting the proper help they need. Not only that, social emotional stigma. And then there's a disparity. There's no partnership with NYCHA. Where are the NYCHA team members here? Why aren't they here speaking with us, understanding that? Actually, 250 Broadway, everyone should be here because it'll improve their lives as well. Anyway, I support and adopt this. I think Congresswoman Velázquez, I've been to her office since I was 20 years old. She's been amazing. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. And now we are going to hear from Rachel Fee, Executive Director, New York City, New York Housing Conference.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Congresswoman Velázquez, for your leadership on this issue. Congress should pass this bill. There has been a stark difference in the way Congress has funded privately subsidized housing and public housing, and it has to stop. It's not fair. By shortchanging NYCHA for years, the repair bill has grown to $32 billion. Fiscally, this is not a prudent approach. Repairs will cost more in the future. Morally, it is plain wrong. Public housing residents, like all renters in New York and across the country, deserve safe and decent housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. And now we will hear from Sarah Sadian, Nicholson. She is the Public Policy Senior Director, National Low Income Housing Coalition, doing a great job at the grassroots level and nationally in Washington.
Thank you, Sarah.
Our nation is in the grips of an affordable housing crisis. Across the country, there are only 3 homes for every 10 of the very lowest income families. And in New York City, it's just as bad, if not worse. Someone working minimum wage would have to work 127 hours each week just to afford a 2-bedroom apartment, or they'd have to earn more than $30 an hour to afford a 1-bedroom apartment. That's why public housing is so important. It's such a critical asset to addressing this problem. But for decades, Congress and various administrations have walked away from their obligations to keep this housing in good condition. Between 2000 and 2016, we saw public housing repair dollars be cut by half. And while Congress has recently increased funding thanks to the leadership of Congresswoman Velázquez and others here, it still stands at about 17% less than 2010. We lose 10,000 to 15,000 units of public housing every year due to disrepair, and we can't afford to lose one more home. On behalf of the National Local Housing Coalition, I want to applaud Congresswoman Velázquez and her colleagues for introducing this bill to ensure that the federal government makes good on its promise to preserve these homes for all current and future residents. We look forward to working with her to pass this bill.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Nancy Ortiz. She's the president of Velázquez Houses Tenants Association, and she is on the Community Advisory NYCHA Federal Monitor.
Thank you, everyone. First, I would like to echo what everyone else has said. I would like to thank immensely our Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, who has always been a trailblazer and a champion in the fight for public housing, in addition to the rest of the congressional delegation present and the rest of our elected officials. I'm not going to repeat what everybody else said, but I will say this. I am first generation Lower East Side. I was born and raised in Lavender houses. There are 3 generations after me. So we love the Lower East Side, and we will always stay in the Lower East Side. HR 4546. There were over 450 public housing residents. We have 366 developments. I am challenging each of those developments to collect signatures and send it to their congressional leaders and ask for them to pass HR 4546. Use social media, use electronic emails, make those phone calls, call the congressional leaders. I promise, and I stand here giving you my word, that I am going to collect 1,800 signatures from Velázquez houses, and I am challenging every development to do the same. We need this bill passed. We need to push for this. We need public housing infrastructure to be fixed. The people that live in public housing, we're not animals. We're human beings, and we deserve decent homes. And I am asking everyone, and I'll say this in Spanish, estoy aplicando a todos los inquilinos que viven en la vivienda pública en Nueva York y en los Estados Unidos que cojan firmas y mándeselo a su congresista para que pasen el HR 4546. La firma de nosotros vale. Le tenemos que demostrar que nosotros tenemos voces, somos humanos y tenemos derechos. Gracias.
Nancy Ortiz. Okay, so before we go into question and answers, I want to acknowledge a few other elected officials who are here. I wish that we have time to allow for everyone to make a statement, but the congressional delegation really appreciate not only that you are here, but that you have been our partners, whether at the city or the state level. So we have Councilman Margaret Chin, State Senator Brian Kavanaugh, Assembly Member Harvey Epstein, Assemblywoman Yulene New, District Leaders Jenny Law, and other community-based organizations who have been advocating for public housing. Big back from Community Service Society to all the tenant leaders from Smith Houses and all the development throughout the Lower East Side and New York City. And Jonathan Garten, District Leader, and Aura Olavarria, District Leader. And
Very proud of all them.
I mentioned
Very proud.
Sorry, I mentioned it. So let me just say a few words in Spanish. Hoy, el día de ayer, yo no, ¿qué fue? Bueno, el último día que estuve en el Congreso antes de regresar al distrito, introduje esta pieza legislativa para declarar una emergencia nacional. Y el número de esta legislación es HR 4546. Pide que el gobierno federal asuma la responsabilidad moral de incluir en el presupuesto $70,000 millones para modernizar la vivienda pública en los Estados Unidos. Hay alrededor de 2 millones de personas que viven en vivienda pública. Y como todos sabemos, cada vez que llega aquí el invierno, se rompen las boilas, hay liqueo de agua, hay mold. Toda esa es una situación que impacta la salud de nuestros residentes. Y quiero recordarles también que los residentes son taxpayers. Ellos pagan impuestos y por lo tanto tienen el derecho de demandar vivir en dignidad. Estoy haciendo un llamado a todos ustedes y las organizaciones a que también aprovechen la oportunidad de escribirle a todos estos candidatos que están corriendo a nivel nacional. No podemos estar hablando simplemente de climate change y otros issues como bajar el costo de prescription drugs para los niños, que lo vamos a estar empujando, pero la condición de la vivienda pública en esta nación tiene que ser parte del debate nacional. Y con eso le doy las gracias por estar aquí. I welcome any questions that you may have.
Two questions. How do you break through the static impeachment talk with this proposal? And why do you think it should be part of the infrastructure bill?
I didn't say that it has to be part of the infrastructure bill. It could be part. So the legislation is doesn't say where the money is coming from. It could come from the general fund, or if we pass an infrastructure bill, we should put public housing as part of that infrastructure bill.
That's right.
But where the money is going to come from, I don't know. It could be rolling back the massive tax cut that we passed.
That's right.
And forcing corporations who didn't pay a penny to our national budget and our national treasury revenues to pay their fair share so that we get the money that we need.
So how do you break through the noise of impeachment and convince Republican lawmakers that this is a good idea, given that we think mostly Democratic lawmakers represent areas with a lot of public housing, especially here in New York?
Given the extent of the conditions, and is Jerry here?
Right here.
Jerry, just in case that he wants to participate. But given the conditions and the crisis that we are witnessing in public housing in the nation, the first step is to create this conversation nationally, that putting band-aids will not solve this issue. The experts are saying that it will require $70 billion. So we need to start somewhere. And somewhere is recognizing that we are in a national crisis. Two, that there has to be a bold proposal for those who understand how the game is played in Washington. You need to develop a congressional record, and that is what we are doing with this legislation. Look, I will ask you, if anyone can answer to me the following question: what the White House is going to look in 2020? I don't know who is going to be in the White House 2020, but we are sending a message that this is an important issue. And I also implore the residents and the community-based organizations and other elected officials that you need to force the discussion and make this part of the national debate.
Congresswoman,
Thank you,
right
Lydia.
now public housing is being, most mostly relying on private developers to make their major repairs. Does this legislation represent a shift in your support for RAD?
No, what I don't support RAD. I never support RAD because I don't believe that we should be in the business of selling off. That's right. Public assets. We need to find the courage and the commitment to make an investment in public housing. Because you know what? With RAD, you know who's going to lose, right? The residents.
That's right.
You are going to have an investment from the private sector that might last 20 years. 20 years, the boilers start to break, the windows start to break, the roofs are leaking. Who is going to put the money into making the repairs at that point? So what we have to do is, as a nation, make a commitment. If people, given the market forces of the real estate market here in New York City, if we don't protect and invest in public housing, where do you think working families, low income and vulnerable people will be able to afford to live? So there has to be a public commitment. That's right. The same way that there was the courage of this president and some in Washington to support a $1.3 trillion in tax cuts, they have to find their courage and recognize that in America, morally speaking, it is not right for children to be exposed to lead and mold. Thank you. I'm serious. Yes.
Speaking of Washington, what are your thoughts on the impeachment inquiry?
Oh, impeachment inquiry. Okay. Any other question on public housing? I'll get back to you.
One more on NYCHA. The mayor has promised that NYCHA will make the repairs necessary, that they won't have service disruption to the boilers, and they won't have wind coming through the windows and mold in the kitchens. He's made it a focus of his administration. Are you saying here that NYCHA, while they have good intentions, cannot pull this off?
No, they can't. No, they can't. And I don't care how many federal monitors the Trump administration is going to put to monitor the situation here in New York. I do not want to come here and kid myself and lie to the people and the residents. There cannot be the type of modernization that needs to happen in public housing development throughout New York City if we do not allocate the money. Right. Where is the money? Yeah. The last budget that the president submitted to us, how much money did he include to the public housing capital fund? Zero. We, the Democrats, put back almost $800 million. What does it tell me? How much can you do with $800 million? And I invite my state senators and assembly members or any of you to answer the questions or react to the questions.
I'll jump in, So just very briefly, I think the Congressmember is absolutely correct. We obviously need greater oversight. We need to ensure that NYCHA is spending the resources they have effectively, but we're not going to solve these problems without a very significant infusion of capital. We've been working to make sure the city is doing that. We're trying to release some funding from prior budgets that the state has allocated, but this is an enormous capital deficit, and I compliment the Congressmember for her many years of work on this, making sure that even these buildings have money that is intended to address damage that was done through Sandy, many billions of dollars. One of the largest FEMA grants ever has been allocated to NYCHA, but we have many billions of dollars of repairs that are necessary, and all the oversight in the world is not going to correct these problems without the funds.
Can I ask one last question? There's $450 million sitting with the federal monitor right now as state money. It took a long time to get there. Have you had any conversations with the governor about why it took so long? And also, have you had any conversations with federal monitor?
I hold Donald Trump accountable in terms of the money and the resources. And I think that the members of the Assembly and the State Senate have to deal with the governor. I don't know if the
What
money
about
is
the
sitting.
federal monitor? Have you had any contact with the federal monitor at all?
No.
So for the 450 million, as you know, Brian and I had been spearheading a lot of those efforts. We actually were the ones who asked for the funding in the first place, but we actually have been very frustrated by the fact that the governor has not released the funds, and they were waiting for, they say, after several years, that they were waiting for the federal monitor, then they were waiting for DASNY to release the funds, and I think that a lot of times it's political excuses, and I think that really they just need to release the funds.
Release the funds.